All right, can y'all hear me now? Y'all got me now? Let's see. Chris, let me know if y'all can hear me, man. My mic must be messing up, but man, listen, what a game. What a game. Let's see. Hang on. Says still can't hear me. Hang on. Can y'all hear me now at all? I'm no, not muted. All right, gotcha. Okay, perfect. We're back. But man, like I said, Georgia winning their first national title since 1980, guys. 1980. That's before either of my parents graduated high school. I mean, that's a long time coming for a game of this magnitude. And Kirby Smart had so many critics, so many criticisms coming into the game about how he was just like Mark Richt, where he could not win the big one, that he just couldn't find a way to do it, and that he couldn't beat Nick Saban, and he finally did it in the biggest game of the year, and it was capped off by Keely Ringo having one of the plays of the year with the 70-plus-yard pick six to ice the game late in there. So the reason I wanted to come live with this show, man, I want to get y'all's thoughts on the game. What were your biggest takeaways of the season, and what do you think about Georgia knocking off Alabama? And could Kirby Smart take the momentum of this, winning it with a walk-on quarterback in Stetson Bennett, and take that and build a dynasty of his own potentially? Let me get to some of these comments. Waldo said, as an Alabama civilian, but also an LSU fan, happy that Bama finally lost. He's a much better. He said, we did it. My God, a championship. Man, listen, Brandon, I agree with you, man. There's a lot of Georgia fans I know that I've talked to before I came on the show, and they are having a blast up there in Indianapolis or wherever they may have been watching. It was an outstanding game. Chris says people think Georgia was going to lay down a second time against Alabama. They were dead wrong. And, Chris, I picked Georgia in the first game, you know, over Alabama just because I never saw a game where they showed many weaknesses. Yes, they didn't have, per se the hardest schedule, but for me, I agree with you. I picked them again this second time just because I could not see them laying another egg. Like you said, there was no way they were going to be out physical by Alabama, out had more speed on the outside. They were going to adjust, especially with how Kirby Smart seems to be one of those defensive gurus that can always shift and mix and match his defense. And I really like what they did, containing the Alabama wide receivers up until Williams got hurt. And that's an unfortunate injury. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I do hope Jamison Williams, I hope he has a speedy recovery. And for me, I do think that was a big reason. I think the offense changed completely, and we'll get to that. But I want to keep on Georgia. I want to say this, man. Brock Bowers, the tight end, the guy who caught one of the touchdowns late in the game, that kid's going to be a problem. I don't think many people realize Brock Bowers is a true freshman at the tight end spot and has worked his way over a Darnell Washington, a five-star, over an Eric Gilbert who was supposed to be there. I mean, he fought for that tight end number one position and became one of the leading receivers for Georgia. So I really want to give Brock Bowers a big shout out. That kid's going to be a matchup nightmare with his speed, his athleticism, his size. And I really do think that he's going to be a staple of that Georgia offense moving forward. That kid is an animal. And also, in the second half, I don't know how many people saw this. In the second half, the physicality Georgia played with, especially late in that fourth quarter on that last drive, they were eating up front as an offensive line. The Alabama front seven had zero answer in that late fourth quarter where they were just getting pushed around. And I love the physicality. I mean, you had, I believe it was the left guard, the one that dove on the pile after the play was over. The energy was there, the physicality was there, and just that dog mentality down the stretch. No pun intended for Georgia. I love the energy from the offensive line down the stretch, and that's something, in my opinion, that was really missing in Atlanta, where they could not catch a break and they had no energy, no physicality down the stretch. And I think that's something Kirby Smart and this coaching staff really pushed, is that we have to play a full 60 minutes of football and we have to play Georgia football. And you saw once they had an opportunity to do that, they were able to establish their will. Sean said he thinks it's a new day. Man, shout out to Smash Time Productions, man. Make sure to go check out his channel for all the band access and videos all for HBCUs around the country, man. The guy does an excellent job. Make sure to go subscribe to Smash Time. But he said the receivers were hurt and it's caught up with them. That's all. They'll be back next year. The freshmen stepped up in crunch time. I agree. Listen, I will agree with that. Aggie Hall, I know we had the one big drop in the red zone. He was number 84 who came in after Williams' injury. That kid's going to be a problem. He made some outstanding catches down the stretch. I think also a name that really established himself not just in this game, but throughout the season is Ja'Cory Brooks. He caught the game-tying touchdown against Auburn, had a big game in the SEC championship, and had another solid game tonight. I think Ja'Cory Brooks is going to be a very, very important name to look for in the future moving forward to Alabama. But I do agree with you, Smash. The whole game was changed after Jamison went down. They just didn't have that deep threat, in my opinion, Smash. They didn't have that guy that could stretch the field. They didn't have that lightning in a bottle, guys, like is what I like to call Jamison Williams, because he's so explosive and he's just that playmaker. So I do agree that the wide receiver injuries were big. Smash were big. Chris said, "Did you see that trick play when Georgia was in the red zone?" I did, man. I did, and that's what I do want to say. There were some very lackluster moments on Georgia's offensive play calling. I would say late first quarter throughout the second quarter, the play calling was not there. But then there were just the bright points, Chris, where it really shined. The flea flicker was there, and Stetson just missed it. But there were some great plays. The one to George Pickens on the play action where Pickens had the dude by like probably 5 or 6 yards was an excellent play call. Chris, I do think there was a bit of creativity in the play calling, but they need it more often, Chris. If they're gonna, build something special moving forward, there was times where it just seemed like they hid away the special playbook, and then they got back to it, and that's where they hit their big money plays. EA said Brock Bowers is a monster. I agree with you, EA, on that. Brock Bowers is a problem. I'm glad someone else wears that crown. I told my dad Georgia was going to make the adjustments. They did. And also they ran the football, Sean. That was something that I couldn't believe they couldn't do in the SEC championship. They were not able to run the football consistently. And when you look at the identity of Georgia, it's running the football, making Stetson Bennett feel comfortable in the pocket, being able to work off the play action, and hitting your big-time wide receivers on the outside like a Brock Bowers. And in the SEC championship, they had zero production in terms of running the football. I know James Cook was banged up. I know McIntosh, I believe, number 6, was also banged up, who made play after play tonight. So I understand that they were a bit banged up at the running back spot, but I do agree that the biggest adjustment for me was the running game and the physicality of the offensive line. That was something that they had zero of in the SEC championship when they faced Alabama the first time. I feel like they could have used George Pickens more. I do agree with that, EA. He had the one big catch where he got, behind Kool-Aid McKinstry. But outside of that, they really didn't use him that much. And it makes me wonder, EA, how healthy really was he? They really seem to have been conservative on how they use him down the field. Maybe they're still worried about that knee. But for me, I do agree with you that I would have liked to see George Pickens be used more, because in my opinion, EA, I don't know how you guys feel in the chat, but for me, he's wide receiver 1 when he's healthy in terms of draft potential with his size, speed, everything like that. George Pickens, I don't know how many people remember him from his freshman year when he was fully healthy. That kid is a problem. And so for me, I wonder how cautious they were being using him in certain situations. And on top of that, man, you had Brock Bowers and Mitchell just playing lights out through the season. So I do wonder if he kind of got lost in the mix of that wide receiving room, and also how cautious has Georgia been using him, because outside of the one deep route that he ran tonight and he got behind the DB, I really haven't seen them put him in positions to be that type of guy. So I do wonder, EA, what was their game plan for Pickens? But I do think that if they could get him used more in the offense, that offense could go to a whole nother level if Pickens decides to return for one more year. Swacking a full Georgia had a point to prove in that second half. Man, I agree. I agree, man. Also, man, go subscribe to Swack and a Fool, man. Those guys have great content. They are one of the funniest channels on YouTube for all Swack content, man. Listen, we've been in the DMs. We're going to get them on the show soon, so stay tuned for that. Listen, the Swack and the Fool Bluebloods collab coming very soon. Ron said, Montana Mountain Man. I guess we know that North Dakota State is the standard now, not Alabama. I'm happy for the Georgia fans. Congratulations. We finally got a good game. I agree, man. I did not want to see a blowout. We got a classic game. I know everyone's going to say, oh, well, the offense was atrocious in the first half, man. I don't know about you guys. I love a good defensive game as well. So I thought tonight's game was another classic in the Alabama-Georgia rivalry that is developing, especially as they play for another national championship tonight. Chris said you knew Kirby was going to pull every trick out of the bag to beat Saban. And that's the other narrative, and I was talking about earlier. I don't remember if my mic was still out at that point, but for me, if Kirby Smart loses this game, man, what is the narrative? You guys can comment in the chat what the narrative is, what the narrative would have been in your opinion. But the narrative for me, it would have been, could Kirby ever get the monkey off his back in terms of beating Nick Saban in Alabama? You know, yes, we know he can win 10, 11, 12 games a year. Yes, we know he can beat Florida. He can beat Auburn, Kentucky. He can beat Tennessee. But can he beat Alabama when it mattered most? And if he loses tonight, the question becomes almost insurmountable, in my opinion, for him. And the noise and the criticism is arguably deafening, especially if, you know, the key play for me in the first half was that Stetson Bennett fumble recovery, where he was running and just dropped the ball and dropped on it. If Bama recovers it there, we're realistically probably looking at a 10-0 lead in the first quarter. Is that something that Georgia could have overcome tonight? I don't know, especially with how, you know, with how their offense was playing in the first half. But the narrative around Kirby Smart, if he doesn't win this game, would have been interesting to me. But he did pull out. He pulled out every trick in the bag, and I'm very happy to see Georgia win their first national title since the '80s, man. Now, Georgia fans, do the right thing and vote Herschel Walker for governor. This is one time you can vote for. Oh man. Swacking a Fool, Georgia speed at linebacker was big too. I agree, and that's something Swacking a Fool that it really caught me off guard in the SEC championship too, because when you look at Nakobe Dean, Channing Tindall, you know, all those type of guys, all at that linebacker spot, they did make an impact in the SEC championship game, and I do think it was due in my opinion to the defensive line getting beat up in the SEC championship game and allowing those guards and tackles and H-backs to get upfield and get to the second level, because the number one way you can neutralize speed is getting your hands on those guys. And so when you had some of those Jadeveon Cohen, some of those, you know, Evan Neals getting up to the second level and getting their hands on the linebackers, I do think it neutralized what Georgia's best at, which is speed at the linebacking spot. But you saw tonight what Georgia did, especially in third down situations, you know, Swacking a Fool, is it was almost guaranteed one or all the linebackers were coming on third down on a blitz. There was no question that Kobe Dean was coming straight through the A or B gap, and they were going to make Bryce Young throw the ball before he was ready. And it was an excellent game plan by Kirby Smart to do that, because then you put your speed in play. When you drop him into coverage, yes, you have the speed, but if he doesn't throw your way, then the speed's kind of neutralized. They brought him on blitzes. They said this guard center guard combo is going to have to react quicker than you can, and you better hope your running back's ready to pick up the block, or we are going to knock Bryce Young's head off. And that's what they did. And I really do like how they use their speed at linebacker also to keep the running game neutralized for Alabama, where they always kept Brian Robinson, you know, from breaking an explosive play. I believe he only had one carry over 10 yards tonight, maybe two, if I can't remember. I got to go back and watch the film tomorrow. But the linebackers were big tonight, Swacking a Fool. I do agree with that. Smash Time says, with the losses of Bama and JSU, both conference champs, as well as other teams winning their conference but not getting a shot at the title, how much weight does conference championships hold? I think they hold some weight, Smash, because, you know, listen, if you can win the national title and the conference championship both, it does mean it means just as much. But the problem with it is ultimately you would rather have a national title. I mean, if I asked you right now, you know, Because I know you're a Southern guy, Smash. If I asked you if would you rather have Southern win a swag title or a national title, I would almost guarantee that you would say I'd rather win a national title. And I think that goes for any fan bases in here. I don't know who everyone in here roots for right now, but I would say if for me being an Auburn guy, I would much rather win an SEC, a national title over an SEC championship. And you know, for me, I don't think it devalues it, Smash, because most conferences are not the SEC. So to get into the playoffs, you're going to have to win a Pac-12 title. To get into the playoffs, you're probably going to have to win a Big Ten title. You're going to have to win an ACC title. You're going to have to win a Big 12 title for sure. So for me, the only conference where it may be devalued is the SEC because the odds of you getting two teams in is pretty high. We've seen Bama and Georgia both get in twice now. Auburn was the number 2 team in the country going into the SEC championship in 2017 with 2 losses. So for me, I think the only conference that you could probably make that argument for, Smash, is the SEC because they're probably the only conference that has to worry about a team not winning their conference getting into the playoffs. Because I don't think the Pac-12, Big 12, or Big 10's going to be concerned about getting a second team in that didn't win the conference, and especially the ACC. We saw if it was not Clemson, they probably don't even have a shot to get in right now until the perception of that conference comes up. Unless it's Florida State, Miami, or Clemson, the ACC champion probably isn't going to get in. Wake Forest, even if they won out, probably wouldn't have got in, as shocking as that may sound. So for me, I think it's the SEC problem. And for the other team you mentioned in there, Jackson State, it's different because you have to win your conference to go to a Celebration Bowl. So I think that also complicates things as well, where I don't know if it devalues it, because if Jackson State didn't have a SWAC title, they would have never had a shot at getting that Celebration Bowl win either, Smash. So I think the SEC and the SWAC are in a very unique situation as compared to a lot of the other conferences around the country, and that's what makes it unique in my opinion. But I don't think the conference championships are devalued at all, because most teams outside of teams in the SWAC and teams in the SEC have to win a conference title to get their ultimate goal, which is a national title in the long run. EA said, I'm surprised that JT Daniels hasn't transferred. I think Stetson has one more year. Yeah, I believe Stetson has one more year. And yeah, the whole JT thing, EA, I'm not sure what to make of it, because all year everyone thought that Stetson was just going to play until JT got ready. And in my opinion, it turned out to be more than likely that Stetson was going to play until he got hurt, or if he got hurt, or if his performance wasn't up to par. They never really considered putting JT in, and that really did surprise me, because a lot of people thought JT was the key to unlocking a Georgia national championship. And now you have a situation where you probably can't bench Stetson Bennett after he just helped you win a national title. And as inconsistent as he played in the first half, he made some crazy throws in the second half to put you back into position to win this game. So for me, I think JT's got to move on, man, because this is Stetson's team moving forward. And the rumors around Athens, EA, is that they are going to be in strong contention for Arch Manning and also Caleb Williams. So for me, it's looking like it's going to be Stetson for 1 year and then Caleb Williams or Arch Manning moving forward. And on top of that, don't forget, excuse me, they have Gunnar Stockton too, 5-star quarterback sitting in the wings as well. So there's not a lack of QB sitting around Athens at all, EA. So it is going to be interesting to see how they sort that out moving forward, especially now that Stetson is a national championship winning quarterback with the whole walk-on story, and the fans absolutely love him. So I'm very interested to see how Kirby Smart handles that moving forward. Ralph said UGA played a good game. What's up, Bluebloods? I heard Georgia finally got it done. Not only was I wrong, but I'm shocked. Yeah, man, there was a lot of people picking Bama. Really and truly, there was a lot of people picking Bama, and it surprised me because it was a 2.5-point favorite, and a lot of people were probably like, "Why in the world would you pick against Alabama and Nick Saban in the national championship?" And I understand that to a point, but for me, I just couldn't see them playing a bad game twice in a row, Slack fan, especially after what they did against Michigan. I thought this team was going to come in motivated, and they did a great job of getting to Bryce Young, man. And that's the one thing I said in my preview they had to do to win this game. You had to get to Bryce Young, and that's what their defense did. And, I'm looking at the stats, guys. I haven't had time to study them before coming on. I want to give y'all a stat that doesn't sound real. And this relates to the comment by James right here. James Hartsville, man, thank y'all for tuning in so late. Guys, Alabama had 28 rushing attempts for 30 total yards. That's an average of about a yard a carry. That after they ran for over 200 yards against the Bulldogs in the SEC championship, they held Alabama to 30 total yards rushing and 1 touchdown. And I know Williams and Mechie were both out on the offense. That is impressive. I don't care what you say. You can be the biggest Alabama fan out there. That is elite defensive football. And that is the Georgia defense I was betting on in Atlanta. And they came to play tonight, man. 30 total rushing yards, 1 touchdown allowed, and forced 2 interceptions from the Heisman winning quarterback that had 4 on the year. I'm gonna give that stat to y'all again. 13 games, 4 interceptions for Bryce Young. He threw 2 tonight, and they held Alabama to 30 yards rushing. It's that was the stat that won the game, and they made Alabama as one-dimensional as possible. They couldn't be physical enough. They couldn't establish drives. 9 for 20 on third downs for Alabama. That was the difference, is they neutralized Brian Robinson in that run game, and Bryce Young had to do it all, and they were bringing pressure. The way they blitzed their linebackers on every single third down was spectacular for me, and it was really great to watch. Yeah, James, 1 touchdown. He said, "Dang," he said, "it's gonna be some mad if he flooded his job tomorrow." Man, Slack fan, I'm down in Mobile. There's gonna be some very, very angry Alabama fans down here in Mobile, moving forward. Ron said, in Montana, most fan bases would rather see their team win the Cat Grizz game than the national title. The fan bases hate each other that much. Man, it's similar like that with the Iron Bowl down here, Ron. I mean, listen, it's serious, and there were Alabama fans I talked to when they won the national title in 2017 or 2018 over Georgia, but lost to Auburn, that they said they felt like their season wasn't complete. So I definitely feel that with some of the rivalries. I'm sure, Georgia, Florida's like that too. They got that rivalry. Michigan, Ohio State. I mean, some of those, big rivalries like that are just like that. But yeah, man, the Montana State series is a problem. But then on top of that, man, you look at, let's see, Chris said, actually, I think Georgia's going to run it back. That's the question I have for y'all. And I want y'all to all comment y'all's thoughts on this. Can Georgia run it back? If not next year, maybe the year after. Can Georgia run it back, in y'all's opinion? Do you think Georgia has the talent and the depth and the foundation built now to be a new dynasty potentially in college football? Do you think Georgia can get it done, man? I have my questions, and my number one question is if they can have some more stability at quarterback, they absolutely can. And on top of that, how do they play with the target on their back now? Now you are the national championship with that Bama-sized target on your back. How do you respond to that? How do you play with that? That's my biggest question. But if you're looking at just a pure roster depth standpoint and talent standpoint, I absolutely believe Georgia can run this thing back and win multiple national titles. But like James said in the comments, man, Texas A&M is going to be tough. Alabama's going to be tough. Florida's got a new coach. LSU's got Brian Kelly. There's some teams you got to contend with. So it's going to be interesting. Let's see. Smash says, does this loss hurt Nick Saban's national championship legacy? Smash. And I'm a big legacy person, and I do think certain losses hurt people. Like Kirby Smart's legacy would have been wrecked with a loss tonight. But Smash, I'm going to say this, and I mean it, and this means a lot. You see the Auburn stuff in the background. You see the Auburn football, the helmet behind me, the picture. Nick Saban's legacy is untouchable, Smash. Really and truly, Nick Saban could not win another national title until he retires, and Nick Saban is still the greatest coach of all time. This loss does not affect the legacy at all. This doesn't alter the legacy in the slightest for me. Nick Saban's still the GOAT, and it's no question that he is going to be the GOAT next year and the year moving forward. He is untouchable in terms of a legacy standpoint, Smash. When you look at what he's done, man, I mean, winning a national title at LSU back in '03, winning all these national titles at Alabama, having number one recruiting classes for like 10 of the past like 12 years. And on top of that, doing it with different style quarterbacks. He went from the game manager, AJ McCarron style, to having a playmaker like Tua and Jalen Hurts, to having the Heisman winning quarterback in Bryce Young, doing it with different staffs, doing it with different just everything. I mean, Nick Saban is really and truly smashed, and this is crazy for me to say because I am an Auburn guy. He's bigger than college football itself, really and truly, man. And that's the type of legacy Nick Saban's built. This loss, I wouldn't even. It doesn't even penetrate what his legacy already is, in my opinion. Smash. He don't have to win another one, and he is the GOAT of college football, in my opinion. I've also said Alabama's secondary was suspect all season. That's another storyline, Chris, that we can get into because the loss of Josh Jobe was evident tonight, man. The loss of Josh Jobe was absolutely evident tonight because the number 6, I believe it's the JUCO transfer. That was number 6 that gave up the big pass interference and then ultimately the offsides touchdown that Stetson hit late in the game. He was getting burnt all night long. And I think really and truly what you saw is outside of Jordan Battle and Josh Jobe, there were a bunch of question marks in the back end of the Bama defense. So for me, I do think that it was suspect at times. But on top of that, the injuries, man, just absolutely ravaged what their potential was on the back end, on the back end of that defense. So I do agree that the secondary is really, really hurt tonight. Let's see. Who do you think are the contenders for next year besides these two teams? Looking at what I know about who's coming back as of right now, Ron, and you know, I'll just say this: a way, way, way too early look ahead. I think Ohio State is going to be a big contender. C.J. Stroud's coming back. They got a lot of talent coming back, man. C.J. Stroud's going to be a stud. They got a lot of that defense returning. I think Ohio State's going to be a team you got to watch for. I don't think Michigan's going to go anywhere. That team's going to be right up there in the thick of things in the top 10. And Texas A&M, man, I think Texas A&M is probably going to be the biggest contender out of the SEC in terms of getting to the playoffs for the first time. That recruiting class is outrageous. They finally potentially have an excellent starting quarterback. They won't have to go to the backup this year. Hopefully, that defense is probably 3 nations. So I think A&M, Ohio State, Michigan are probably my top 3. And then if I had to pick another one that was, a dark horse, I think Miami, even though it's year 1 or under Mario Cristobal, I think they're going to come really strong out of the ACC with Tyler Van Dyke because he had a crazy year this year at the end of the year for the Hurricanes, and I think Cristobal is going to put together a solid rest of the class. But I think Ohio State and A&M and Michigan are probably your biggest contenders compared, with these two teams right now. Let's see, can they handle the pressure of being champions? That's my biggest question, SWAC fan, is can they do it? He said Nick Saban is damn near bulletproof. I agree, Bobby. That legacy is bulletproof right now. Saban is the college Belichick. I agree, and there's a reason they're best friends, man. They come from the same coaching tree. They're built the same, and that's why they've been two of the greatest coaches in just sports in general. It was a smart PI. I will say that, he blatantly tackled him, but, that was going to be a touchdown. But then, man, Bobby, you get the smart PI call, and then you give up the exact same play the next play and give up a huge touchdown. So as much as it was a smart PI, you didn't learn from your mistakes, and you let them score a touchdown on you the next play when your defensive line jumps offside, man. I do give them credit, smart PI, but you got to learn from your mistake by the next play. Calvin said, "How about my dogs, Blue?" Man, they played a hell of a game, man. They played a hell of a game. You guys deserve it, Calvin, man. Congratulations. It was a crazy game tonight. Listen, y'all will never see me going live at at midnight, man, hardly ever, because I know you guys got jobs and stuff. This is mine right now, but man, we had to go live for the national championship late tonight. I didn't know Will Anderson is all. Yeah, man, guys, I will say this, and this is going to scare some people who are SEC fans. Will Anderson's coming back. That boy is only a sophomore, and he had almost 20 sacks this year if you include the playoffs games, and he had almost like damn near 40 tackles for loss. Will Anderson is going to come back next year and be bigger, stronger, faster. And then Dallas Turner, 2.5 sacks tonight himself as a young guy off the edge. He's going to be on the other side. This Alabama defense was young, man. They have a lot of pieces coming back, so I don't think Alabama is going anywhere in terms of national relevancy moving forward. And they have the #2 recruiting class in the country, and that offensive line is going to be upgraded. They have, I believe, 3 5-stars sitting on the bench, man, right now. And coming up, and including I believe it's the Brockmeyer brothers are the center and guard, and then they have a 5-star tackle sitting behind Evan Neal, who's ready to step in when he enters the NFL come this spring. Michigan may come back there getting it back in blood. Man, I want to see it, man. But hey, Harbaugh's been linked to a bunch of NFL jobs, Chris, so we'll have to see about that. Outrageous recruiting class with that 30 million has a lot to do with it, man. They were paying kids left and right, man. Texas A&M had the NIL figured completely out, didn't they, Calvin? Man, they did an excellent job with that. But yeah, they were spending money on recruits. What's up, Mr. Campbell, man? Appreciate you tuning in. How quick can Brian Kelly get LSU turned around? I would imagine so it's tough, man. They lost a lot of transfers. I mean, that bowl game was brutal looking at what was going on there, but they still have a solid recruiting class, Mr. Campbell. I would say LSU. I would say give Brian Kelly a year, maybe 2. I think next year's recruiting class is going to be a telltale sign. But for me, it just doesn't seem like he's connecting with the recruits very well. So I'm very, very skeptical of LSU's success under Brian Kelly. I'm going to be honest, Mr. Campbell. I have a bit of skepticism about what he's doing at LSU because they've been losing a lot of players, and I just don't know if his personality fits what LSU needs as a head coach. But we're going to see. But I would say give him a year, Mr. Campbell, and if LSU can't finish in the top 3 of the SEC West after that, you got to hit the panic button if you're in Baton Rouge. Let's see. The 3-year college rule is stupid. Will Anderson should be able to go pro. I agree. For me, I don't understand why he can't. That kid was the best edge rusher in the country this year, and there wasn't even a close second. I don't want to hear about Aiden Hutchinson because Aiden Hutchinson I don't even know if he played in the Orange Bowl. He played so bad, to be completely honest with you. So for me, Will Anderson is a problem, and I agree, Mr. Campbell. He would probably be a top 10 pick if he can come out this year. And the fact that they're making him come back and risk injury, risk everything that could happen in college football to that kid who could be making millions right now in the NFL is atrocious. And I do agree, Mr. Campbell. The 3-year rule is crazy. I maybe bring it down to 2, make an exception because Will Anderson is a pro player and he's going to be playing. He's going to be playing big time football very soon. What's up, All Script, man? Appreciate you tuning in. He said I'm 2-0 in bowl games, 33-10 South Carolina State, 33-18 Natty. Them Aflac coaches look. Man, Scotty, Captain Petty doesn't sleep out here, man. He is 2-0 on bowl games, man. I'm 1-1. I rode with Jackson State. They let me down. I see how it is. Ways on swim. Ole Miss will win it all next year, man. If Lane Kiffin wins it all for Ole Miss, that would be insane, man. That would be insane. Waves. Let's see. What do you think about your team next year, man? If I had to look at Auburn, I think it depends on who the starting quarterback, man, is. They landed Zach Calzada from Texas A&M to potentially be the quarterback. They got 4-star holding, I believe it's Griner coming in. So for me, I think it depends on who starts. They also have Demetrius Johnson out of North Shore, winningest quarterback out of Texas high school football, also in that QB room. Tank Bigsby came back. The entire defensive line is coming back. So for me, I like our chances to finish in the top half of the West, Ron, but I don't like our chances to go any higher. I could see 8-4, so I need to go through the schedule a bit, but I think 8-4 would be a solid year for Auburn next year if I had to put my money on it. No, man, Cam Ward went to Washington State. So Cameron Ward, Incarnate Word transfer quarterback, committed to Washington State tonight. That's where Incarnate Word's head coach got hired on as the OC. So he's going to be playing under his old head coach in that high flying offense. Jaden Delora transferred out to Arizona. So is Cam Ward going to be the starting quarterback for Washington State next year in the Pac-12? Ralph said Aiden who? Exactly, man. He was nowhere to be found. Because of that Alabama bench, I never give them the injury excuse. The 10th wide receiver on the depth chart is starting anywhere else. Well, man, the wide receiver excuse was the thing, man, because Aggie Hall, the number 84, the guy who came in after Williams got hurt, he was like a top wide receiver in this past year's recruiting class. So I can't give him the excuse. Who is it? Ja'Cory Brooks was a 4-star coming out of high school. They had a 5-star and JoJo Earl on the bench. I mean, they got some real talent on the bench, Bobby. So I do agree with you that injuries can't be an excuse for Bama because they got too much talent on the bench after those recruiting classes. I swear, Blue, if I'm an NFL GM, I'm drafting Thibodeau over Hutchinson. It shouldn't even be a conversation, Calvin. Anybody who has Hutchinson is just wild to me. If you pick Hutchinson over any other edge rusher right now at the top, that blows my mind, really and truly. That makes no sense to me, Calvin. I agree. Thibodeau over Hutchinson all day, every day. Blue, how quickly do you think Texas A&M can leverage their top recruiting class? I mean, really and truly, Dwayne, if they don't lose who was the starting quarterback? I'm blanking on Haynes King. If Haynes King doesn't go down with injury, I don't think they lose to Arkansas this year. I don't think they lose to Mississippi State this year. I mean, you're looking at a team that just last year, Dwayne, was number 5 in the country, one spot away from making the playoffs, and then their starting quarterback gets hurt, and they still finish in the top half of the SEC with a win over Bama. So I think with Haynes King coming back, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're returning every wide receiver. I believe Spiller's gone, but they have a solid running back behind him. The defensive line's all coming back. The secondary is young with Jalen Jones and those guys. For me, I think this recruiting class, one, fills a few needs, but also adds much needed depth, Dwayne. Really and truly, A&M has to win the SEC in the next 2 to 3 years, in my opinion. That's how fast they have to make it happen, because I don't think they're that many pieces away, in my opinion. Marcus D, I love, man. Appreciate you tuning in. Mr. Campbell said, wow. He said, tonight, the Stetson fits. Yeah, Chris, Zach Evans chose Ole Miss as well, man. He's gonna be in that offense. I'm interested. I got to see who they got the quarterback, man. Ole Miss is gonna be solid. They got Drummond and a lot of solid wide receivers. The defense was super young this year. They really came on late in the year, but they need a bona fide edge rusher, in my opinion, if Ole Miss is gonna play. And on top of that, they have to get a shutdown corner. None of their corners are that game changer, shut down the side of the field corner. They need one of those, but Ole Miss is probably 3 or 4 pieces away from being one of those teams that I think could win the SEC. Ole Miss has to get the USC transfer now. Who starts next year for the Dogs? Vandergrift or Stockton? Hasn't Stetson exhausted all his eligibility? I think Caleb will go to USC with Dart entering the transfer portal. Confirms it. Yeah, man. For me, I think Williams is almost confirmed to USC. Caleb Williams is probably going to go play under Lincoln Riley. For me, I'm going to give the lean to Vandergrift, man. I think Vandergrift's ceiling is just a bit higher right now than Stockton's, just based on the little bit of film I've seen of them. I need to do a film breakdown on both of them, but for me, from what I've seen, I'm give the lean to Vandergrift. He has that pro-style body. I think his skill set better fits what Kirby wants to do with the offense. And on top of that, I do think Stetson has one more year, Calvin, due to COVID. So if he comes back, I think they're going to give the nod to him just because now he's a national championship winning quarterback. And so, and we know Kirby has a thing for incumbent guys. He started Fromm over Fields in what was just a mind-blowing decision. He started DeJuan Mathis over, Stetson Bennett and JT Daniels. So he's made a lot of bad decisions in terms of quarterbacks, Calvin. So for me, that I would say if as long as Bennett's not coming back, I'm going to lean Vandergriff right now. But if Stetson comes back, Stetson will be the starter week 1 for UGA, in my opinion, Calvin, because they're not going to bench a quarterback who just won the national championship. Deputy Mario said Ole Miss will beat Alabama next year. I like the prediction, man, and I believe it's in Oxford next year. That's going to be a hell of a game in Oxford, man. That place is going to be rocking. Why would Geno Smith get a DUI last night? Now he'll be in the XFL next month. All right, Mr. Campbell. Yeah, so Stetson can come back. So since Stetson's coming back, Calvin, I'm going to say Stetson will be the starter, Vandergriff second, and then Stockton will probably be third if he doesn't transfer out, because we know in the age of the transfer portal, people who don't win the starting job are not probably not going to sit around on the bench unless they know they're the next in line. And so being third string behind Vandergriff with potentially Arch Manning coming in, it doesn't bode well for Georgia's QB depth that Stockton's is going to stick around. Let's see, A&M will be on probation the next 3 years. Miami title contender. Do they even have a stadium of their own? Miami should have already got the death penalty. Supposedly for Miami, what I heard, Ron, I talked to my guy down there at Miami. I know one of the guys that works at 247 for them. He told me that in the contract for Cristobal, to get him to come to Oregon, because Oregon has excellent facilities, that Cristobal was promised a certain amount, somewhere around the $2 to $5 million range that Miami will dedicate to redoing the facilities and also building or potentially exploring an option to build an on-campus stadium. So that's just some insider stuff that I heard potentially could be worked into his contract. I don't know if it's confirmed, but supposedly Cristobal told them unless they make a significant donation and step forward in supporting their football program in South Beach, he wasn't going to leave Oregon to come to coach at the U. So apparently they've rededicated themselves to get Cristobal, but we'll see on that one. Miami, in my opinion, I think needs to be good for the well-being of college football, but for me, we'll have to see moving forward if they can build that on-campus stadium, because I think that has to be something you got to explore moving forward. Georgia Dogs and South Carolina State Dogs are back-to-back in 2022. I like that. The year of the Dogs in college football, man. I don't like them, but people are making a mistake thinking it's the end of the era. Long as Saban's there, they'll be back. Oh, yeah, man. Listen, and no doubt, SWAC fan, and Alabama will probably be in the SEC championship next year, potentially, in my opinion, win the national title. Nick Saban's not staying down for long. Anybody who's counting Alabama out, man, absolutely is out of their mind, in my opinion. You have to, in my opinion, you have to count Alabama in. Anytime you count Nick Saban out is when he responds with another national title. So way too premature, in my opinion. Interzone champion Dogs, man. Congratulations, Interzone, man. Definitely deserve the national title. Stetson will have to work a day in Georgia. He'll be oh man, y'all already not giving Stetson any chance, man. Y'all are killing me, man. That guy just won the national championship like 2 hours ago. Not even 2 hours ago, man. Y'all are killing me. Y'all are killing me. Let's see. Do you think Arch Manning commits to Ole Miss? Dwayne, for me, I think Ole Miss would probably be second, Dwayne. Everything that I've been reading and hearing from anyone I've talked to says he's leaning, in my opinion, toward Georgia. And I think with the momentum of the national championship tonight, I do think Arch Manning right now, if I had a crystal ball for 247, I would crystal ball him to Georgia. But I do think Ole Miss is a close second, and I do think it's how Lane Kiffin spends whatever transfer he lands to lead that team into the 2022 season. But I would have it Georgia. I would have Georgia 1, Ole Miss a close second. So right now I would lean Georgia, but do not count Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss out of the Arch Manning race. He said the Bulldogs. Calvin said most definitely. I have the same thoughts. Thanks, Blue. Mr. Campbell Stetson will get that Vince Young treatment in Athens. Man, that dude is a legend right now. As soon as that plane touches back down in Athens, They're already going to be building a statue out of whatever they have to build a Stetson Bennett statue out of, a walk-on that saved the program, saved Georgia, and then on top of that, you got Keely Ringo with with the late interception. But let's see. He said, "Go Georgia, man! Definitely go Dogs tonight, man! It was well deserved." But just to wrap up this, live show, man, we're gonna hit an hour, and then I'll probably hop off of here, man. It's 1 o'clock on the East Coast, man. So shout out to all of y'all for tuning into this late this late live stream. I wanted to do it live to get y'all's thoughts on everything. Smash said, "Don't you think LSU has a shot at Arch?" They might. I believe they made his final. I don't know if they made his final five. Smash, if I remember right. I believe it was Clemson, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, and then it might have been LSU. Or I don't remember if they made it, but LSU might. I don't think he fits Brian Kelly's system. So for me, I don't think LSU has a great shot. Smash, in my opinion, especially after they have. I believe it's Nussmeier coming in as a quarterback. He's a high 4-star, very talented kid from in-state. I think he's going to get the nod. Smash, in my opinion. Calvin said, "I need that Kevin Coleman video soon. I got work in the AM, man. I'm getting videos out. Listen, as soon as this live stream ends, y'all all can go to bed, get ready for work, man. I'm recording some episodes to drop tomorrow and later this week, and also got to get ready for some interviews coming later this week too, man. I've been working real hard behind the scenes to get some more interviews for y'all. And listen, all the FCS fans, man, we got some big names coming. Let's just say I've been in touch with North Dakota State's SID. We might be having some FCS National Championship champions on the show very, very soon. So big things coming. They already wrecking havoc in Indy right now. That's true. Georgia fans, I promise you, there's plenty of barking going around. Listen, they legit bark at you. I promise. Listen, as I am a grown man. I have been barked at by Georgia fans after an SEC championship. I promise there's a lot of barking and havoc going on in Indianapolis. Shout out to you, Bluebloods, man. Appreciate you, Slack fan. Appreciate you so much. If Nussmeier's as good as his father, LSU will be okay. I agree, and I wish they would have gave him a waiver to play in the bowl game. It was insane they had to play, a backup wide receiver at the quarterback spot. That was just ridiculous, man. But, man, to put a bow on this episode, man, Georgia wins the first national title since 1980 in Athens. Kirby Smart is going to be a legend around Athens, and there's a lot of us, and it seems like a lot of people in the chat do think Georgia can be one of the great next dynasties in college football. They can put this together, win a handful more. Kirby Smart can do it, and a lot of people think the future is bright, man. Holding Alabama to 30 rushing yards, getting in Bryce Young's face, forcing 2 big interceptions, including that pick 6. It was a huge game for the Bulldogs, man. But listen, guys, y'all be safe wherever y'all are. Thank y'all for staying up on this late night edition of the Bluebloods, man. I can't thank y'all enough, man. We've grown so much this year. I know this is the first live stream of 2022. We've went from 30 subscribers last January. On January 11th last year, we had like 30 subscribers, and we're pushing damn near 3,000 now, man. So thank y'all so much, man. I literally cannot thank y'all enough. And listen, I'll be appearing on Bandwagon Signing Day on Scotty's channel. So who will I commit to for the SWAC season? Y'all have to tune in. Let's just say I got some merch on the way, and I can't thank y'all enough for the support, man. Thank y'all so much. But listen, until next time on the Bluebloods, guys, we are out.